All right, we are now live. It's another episode of What the Fuck Just Happened. This is episode 49. I'm trying to be a little calmer on the intro instead of, and damn, I'm looking at the recording, the number on top, it literally just started just now. So I don't know if it picked up the first part of the intro, but welcome to What the Fuck Just Happened, episode 49. Just to repeat that, uh, with your host, DJ81, and Bills to my left here. To you guys is right, but to my left. So say what's up to the people, Bills.
What's going on, people? What's going on?
All right, and just to let people know, we are working with a slight delay here. So if Bills or myself, if we either talk over one another or if we're late in responding, it's we're working with a delay. And right now, there's nothing we can do about it. But you know what? Y'all ain't donate no money, so I can't get the upgrades I need to possibly take care of this delay. But give it to pay for it. So what's been going on this past last couple of weeks? I know
Which
a
is
lot's been
nothing.
going on. Yeah, I would say it's been chill. I'm like we had some stuff happen, but not really to us in general. Just everything else has been going on. Um, I know one thing in particular that came across that is of the unimportant list, but I'm gonna mention it anyway. Is former G4 host Frost leaving the gaming industry because she felt like she was betrayed and not protected by her former coworkers. Now, for those that don't remember Frost, she was the one that went on his rant, used G4's platform to push an agenda of sexism in gaming. Now, I do understand it occurs in gaming. I do believe that, but to do it on a gaming show was probably not the best place to do it. And then the lames that backed her up in that segment made it even worse, and which was the climax of G4's time, in which now there's no more G4, there's no more like anything from that show, mainly because of what she did. So, goodbye, Frost. Bye. See you later. Whatever you're gonna do, good luck, but don't come back. So I just basically wanted to get that out the way because that you know the internet is filled with 90% filth and 10% necessary stuff, and I just wanted to take care of the 90% right out the gate. So, Bills, what did you do? See our segment once again. Get that shit off your chest. We can start off. I think I led. I led last time, or did you lead last time? Bills, can you hear me?
Like you just said.
Okay. Think we were starting to run into these technical difficulties already.
Okay, what the hell?
All right. So while we're working through that, I'll just go ahead and lead off because I think at the moment the one thing I want to talk about is the situation going on in the NHL. We had this situation with Philadelphia Flyers defenseman Ivan Provorov. Uh, there was a Flyers Pride night that took place at one of the games, and for the skating warm up, there the players would be out on the ice, and they would have their either the tape the the, the stick handle either, and there goes Bills. See, when we're having technical difficulties, we'll just work through them. Our apologies, but we'll work through them as best we can. So back to Ivan Provorov. So basically, for Pride Night, the players would get on ice for a pregame warm up, and they would either wear like the rainbow colors on their jerseys or like on the stick tape on the end of their blade on other stick. But this particular night, Ivan Provorov did not take the ice. They asked him after the game, "Why do you participate in the pregame warmups?" And because it was Pride Night, I guess he had said, "Well, it's against my religion." In his view, I don't really support that, so I didn't want to go out there and do that. So since then, he's had a whole bunch of backlash. He's had a whole bunch of, he's been called a bigot. He's been called all sorts of things, anti LBGTQ, whatever you may call it. He's been called all sorts of things. And then this one rant in particular caught my eye on Twitter, and it was done by Sid Seixeiro. The spelling is Seixeiro. So you can only imagine the pronunciation for that. So he was part of Breakfast Television, which I've never heard of before in my life. But this guy's rant caught my eye because he basically went off on Ivan, basically called like saying that, well, if this was military night and he didn't dress in military fatigue, camo, uniform, whatever for pregame warmups, then everyone would have a fit. And trying to call out the hypocrisy of people being selective in their anger. Well, I got a news flash for this guy. I don't think for 1 second people would be. For one thing, Ivan did suffer backlash from people that were angry over the fact that he didn't take place in this pregame warmups. But here's the thing that bothers me. This game, the team he plays for is the Philadelphia Flyers. Where's that at? It's in Pennsylvania. Where is Pennsylvania at? It's not in Russia. It's not in Europe. It's here in the United States. So my problem with this whole thing, this whole backlash that he's facing, is the fact that, Pride Night is supposed to be about inclusion, and it's supposed to, bring in people. Hockey is for everyone. This is what NHL brands it. But the backlash is like, you have to support this or else. Or you have to, in order to be in the in crowd, you have to believe what I believe or believe what the next person believes. Remember, Will Smith had a line in one of his songs, Holy Roller. I forgot which album he did. It was one of his, I wouldn't say latest albums, but one of his last albums that he did. It was a song called Holy Roller. And the line was, if I don't believe what you believe, I'm going to hell. And that's what I got from this guy, Sid's rant, was that, well, F you, if you don't believe what I believe, you shouldn't have a job because you don't believe what I believe. And that didn't sit well with me because that defeats the whole purpose of inclusion. Like, the whole purpose of inclusion is for everyone to be included, whether they believe in what you do or what you say and what you think or not. So let me see. Let me get Bill's back in here. It looks like he popped back up. All right, Bills, how you holding up there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I know they had went out all of a sudden, so I just started on my Provorov. I know, right? So okay, so let me get back to Provorov. So the whole, if I don't believe what you believe, I'm going to hell, is what is being said. What was being said in Sid's rant, and what most of the backlash is. Newsflash for those people: Ivan can believe whatever he wants. He can express it in kind of how he wants, as long as he doesn't break any laws. He chose not to participate in the pregame warmup. So what was the big deal? He didn't have to be out there. It's kind of like the same option that NFL players got. If they didn't want to be out there for the national anthem, they had the option to wait in the tunnel. And that was the NFL. The way that NFL handled that was kind of messy, but it was just like, look, if you're gonna go out there and protest the national anthem, you can wait in the tunnel or just not be out there. You're given a choice, but it's kind of that forcing of something that doesn't have any rules that states that you have to do this. Like the national anthem has no rules saying that you have to stand, sit, stay silent, whatever. It's just a courtesy. And I feel like in this case with Ivan, it's a courtesy that he participates, in Pride Night. If he doesn't want to, so be it. It's fine. It shouldn't be no backlash. And then I like the fact that John Tortorella backed him up along with the NHL, backed him up on this. I was like, look, he has every right to not be there. He doesn't have to participate. You know, I'd rather have, I'm like, honestly, if you think about it, I'd rather have people who legit support something and are out there having fun than someone who's being dragged along and is feigning his support for a particular group. I'm like, shoot, we have enough frauds as it is already. I'm like, we have, even though Black Lives Matter is a nice concept, the the group itself has been proven fraudulent time and time again, just taking money and investing in themselves and not in the cause. So, that's the thing that bothered me this week was the fact that this hockey player got unnecessary flack for something that really he's free to do. He didn't kill nobody, he didn't punch nobody, he didn't assault a woman, or a woman didn't assault him. You know, at the same time, Brett Favre is still under the radar in most of the news. So we're just gonna leave it at that. So, Bills, what you got?
All right, so this is gonna be a light topic. Let's talk about Twitter and this new fucking setup that they have, because this shit is really starting to piss me off.
Uh-oh.
There used to be a time, like, I don't know, a fucking week ago, where you could just look at the latest tweets on your timeline. But no, that was too simple. That was too much accessibility for the fucking users. So good old Elon decided he wants everybody to intermingle. So now I gotta see all the dumb motherfuckers that you follow and all you reply to. And it makes me want to say, yo, y'all follow some dumbass fucking people, which I basically did say a couple days ago, because y'all follow some stupid fucking people, good lord, they're fucking stupid. And now I gotta see it. I'm looking at the shit y'all like, you motherfuckers actually follow them? Like, you look at all their tweets, like, these motherfuckers are on your timeline? Are you fucking kidding me? See, before you couldn't really tell. You didn't know that people, like, I found out a couple motherfuckers, DJ, you follow Vince Russo? What the fuck?
Hey, I'm like, he was always funny to me. So I followed who I followed.
Him, bro. Fuck him, bro. Fuck him. I was gonna make the segment about him, but holy shit. I mean, it would be the whole fucking show. So I decided I wouldn't talk about his dumbass. I'll just rant on Twitter because, seriously, what the fuck? Can I just not see the tweets in chronological order? Is that too much to ask? I gotta fucking search for the fucking button for that? I mean, I guess technically the right side of the fucking options is supposed to be those latest tweets, but fuck, it's like, stop changing shit. You took spaces away for 2 seconds. You brought that back. But at least I can say sissy niggas and not get banned. So, this is a positive. It's looking up. It's looking up. So that it's a quick one, but come on, Elon, get your shit together. All right, bring back the latest tweets. All right, come on.
And technically, there are other people that I follow that you probably would have more interest in than Vince Russo. So they'll pop up from time to time.
Like who?
Maybe a couple of porn stars. I don't know. Something like that. But anyway.
I mean, I'd be more interested in Dust than fucking Vince Russo.
he literally did say he created Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock. I'm like, what? Like, did you have sex with their mothers? I'm like, what the hell is going on here?
That was a sales pitch to WCW. Bro. I created Stone Cold Steve Austin, bro. The Rock, a fucking schlub. And then I came up with him, bro. It was all me, bro. Bro, listen, bro. Okay, bro. before I came up with Stone Cold Steve Austin and the fucking glass breaking, bro, okay, he was coming out with the fucking part in his head and a receding fucking hairline, bro, and he was with Ted DiBiase, bro. Okay, bro, I came up with all that, bro. Fuck him. Fucking loser.
All right, so shout out to State of the Franchise Gaming. I know he popped up, so let me get to his.
Yeah, where you been every time we do a fucking podcast?
But he's here now. Probably lurking. But anyway, he's here now. Oh boy, this is gonna be another get that shit off your chest type of. It's like, where the hell you been? But he says, nah, G4 was like 15 years too late and tried to give us the same shit they were. No, they weren't. They weren't trying to give us the same shit because remember what they were trying to give us before involved a little bit more skin. For those that watched G4 the first time, the two co-hosts that he had before, they were involved in all these scantily clad outfits, that skits that was making a mockery or whatever, and then that's what kind of made Frost look like a clown, because then she talked about, am I supposed to be pretty to the eyes? Well, apparently G4, the people up top, including Sussler, thought that was necessary in the first show. So, I mean,
wait a minute. Hey, State of Franchise. You trying to say other niggas don't work? Is that what you trying to say? You trying to say you're the only person employed out of this motherfucker? Is that what you trying to say? What? Because you watch baseball and shit, you more sophisticated? Huh? Nah, Subliminary, what's up? But we gonna keep you on ice for a second, all right? What's good? All right, back to the State of the motherfucking Franchise. All right, so you're the only motherfucker to work afternoons now, right? Oh, so DJ don't work afternoons. You just work every time we're fucking streaming. You working. You know what? The next time you do a Blue Jays stream, I'm gonna come through and raid the motherfucker. That's what I'm gonna do.
Says he works nights. We a
take
male escort?
Take my little cat nap.
What is he, a male escort?
What is this?
Male escorts and drug dealers work at night.
Out dick around? Right. What are you somewhere giving out dick in Southern New York somewhere? What is it? I work nights. I work nights. Are you showing up to some old lady's 65-year-old birthday party, fucking dressed like a cop or some shit? What is this exactly? What are we talking about here? You like Buddy Oven and Nutty Professor too? Come on, man, don't try to be the peacemaker here, okay? There's no good cop, bad cop shit, all right? State of Franchise got his feet held to the coals because this motherfucker is never in here, and I'm tired of it.
And he doesn't.
And I'm tired of his terrible opinions on sport. And he don't donate. Freeload him, motherfucker. He showed up and didn't bring no money with him. I work in an ER. Oh, I see. Oh, okay. Oh, you work in an ER. Oh, excuse me.
Escort
so you just fucking
retrieval?
all the nurses. That's the work you. That's the work you do at night. That's the work he does at night. He fucks all the nurses.
Oh wow, escort retrieval. But anyway, let's see. So State of Franchise also says that man is Russian or whatever. So of course he wouldn't wear US. No, actually he. Let me just say it like this: for a pregame warm up, camos are universal. If you think about it, all military wears some sort of camo in their uniform, their battle dress uniforms or BDUs. So he would have worn it,
not BBW,
because it would have been supporting the military. Just whose military? Obviously, he's going to support his home country because Putin is going to kill his family, just like they. Actually, let me go back to that because that should have been part of the earlier rant, because they tried to do that shit to Ovechkin. They tried to hold him to the fire and make him condemn Putin because Ovechkin is an overt supporter of Putin. But at the same time, it's like, you want this man to openly speak against the man that could possibly have his family killed. His family is living in Russia, and that's what a lot of these Russian players face. So they can't openly say what they feel like.
How's that working out for Ennis Cancer right now?
See, wait, he has a death warrant on him because
they put a bounty on his head.
I'm like, a lot of these people don't understand that some of these players that are from foreign nation don't have the same liberties, even though they are living in a country that has those liberties. But those other countries, they have farther reach than you realize. They will poison. I'm like, Putin could possibly poison somebody here, and I think he's done that a couple of times, but it hasn't been linked to it. But he can poison whoever he wants or order somebody killed in a different country. I'm like, shoot, we do it all the time with these drone strikes. But anyway, that's not my it's not my deal.
Not
So
a Sussler before while I was gone, or
uh no, let's see, Adam Sessler. What were you saying, Bills, about Adam Sessler?
no? I said, did you talk about him while I was gone, or?
Oh, I had kind of
I know you're
just
talking about
briefly.
T4, so
Yeah, because I had briefly just brought up Frost real quick because I wanted to get the trash out the way. Um, because she had tweeted out that she was leaving the gaming industry because she was mad at the people that didn't support her when she needed them, thought she was protected, that she can go on her rants or whatever without any repercussions. I'm like, shoot, you was saying peace out to the people that got laid off before she did, and telling them it was like, I'm glad I made it. I'm like, damn, fuck them too, damn. So, but yeah, but Adam Sessler was thrown in there because he
Adam Sussler's
did
just
have a
funny.
meltdown. He did have a meltdown over the weekend, and he did out. I think he.
I enjoyed it.
Go
I
ahead,
don't know,
Bills.
but
You
it
got
was
it.
outstanding. It was outstanding. He called out gamers for being fucking weirdos, basically, and obsessed with gaming to the point where they thought that it basically defined his life. In which, in you know, the issue is when you have, and I said this on Twitter, and I think you retweeted what I said. When you have these people who run into your mentions to fucking disagree with you, most times they like. Think about it. If me or DJ were to run into one of y'all's mentions, it's not going to have a million failures. It's not going to be just an emotionally driven fucking rant projecting our own failures. But everybody that went into his mentions, for the most part, that's exactly what it was. They were just trying to make it seem like he had to love gaming simply because he worked inside of gaming. Look, I know motherfuckers who work in the phone industry selling phones, and they don't like phones. They don't like selling phones. They do it because it's a means to an end. So Adam Sessler was trying to explain that, and although being a bit cavalier in his approach, there's nothing he said that was off base. There are plenty of people that work in industries, especially as TV personalities, they don't really care about the product. Do acting, and that's what he's doing. I love gaming. He's not even considered a gamer. He plays games, but he's not a gamer. There is a difference. People don't really get that. And he basically went on a rant and he replied to a whole bunch of fucking people. And yeah, he didn't come out any worse for it, honestly.
Yeah, so that was basically Adam Sessler just going off on people and people just in their feelings. And when people are in their feelings, everybody comes out the woodworks. I've seen some people from, the crumb side chime in, and it's just like, why are we all responding to him? This is his going away. This is his like goodbye. Let him leave. I'm like, if he's out, he's out. And if he wants to take some of y'all with him,
football better than basketball, and everybody was my fault. Good.
No, you're good. You're good. One thing, I'm just turn serious for a second, and offer on behalf of this podcast, offer our condolences to the Briscoes. In real life, their last name is Pugh. Jay Pugh had passed away just a couple of days ago in a car accident. And also in the accident was his two daughters. They're sitting in critical condition as we speak. So I haven't heard any updates on his daughters, but like I said, unfortunately, and his name was Jamin Pugh, also known as Jay Briscoe, one half of the dominant tag team, the Briscoes. Which is funny because I had never I had never seen this tag team up until I think the last few years, but obviously, just going back over their start in TNA and then to now, um, how much they've been able to accomplish as a tag team, as real life brothers, as real life tag team, and you know it it threw me for a loop. Obviously, it threw Bills for a loop. It threw the whole wrestling world for a loop because obviously it happened suddenly, and I send my prayers out to their family. Um, yeah, it's Bills. You have anything on that?
Uh, I mean, it sucks, man. It's what he's one of the most well respected wrestlers in the business, and you can see everybody that was sending their love and their thoughts and their prayers shock about it. You could tell that he was. And FTR was probably really crushed because they built a bond with them in these past few months and had some great matches with him over the past year, and it just sucks, man. I mean, he never the Briscoes never really got to that stage where like where mainstream wrestling audience actually knew who they were because they were amazing and they could wrestle any style. They were extremely unselfish. It's just fucking sad. I mean, even to forget about wrestling, just the fact that kids lost a father, a wife lost him, and a brother lost her, and it's terrible, man. And my thoughts and prayers just go out to his family and everybody that was close to him, and it just sucks, honestly.
And then, like I was saying, as I was saying, stating earlier, also prayers to his two daughters. So hopefully they pull through. Like I said, from what I last read, the last thing I heard is they were in critical condition as well. So, and of course, there was the driver of the other vehicle that swerved into them. She passed away as well. So it's like it's tragic death all around. Um, no one wins, and everyone loses in situations like this. So hopefully, um, the girls pull through and make a full recovery. And they're gonna need, I'm like the whole family in general, but those two are gonna really need the support that they're gonna need. And it's not just like it's mainly gonna be mental because yes, they lost their father. They were. I've been in a car accident where there was a fatality involved. So really, this I'm like I can be at a loss for words because I know what it's like. I have that same situation on the same stretch of type of road. I'm like, I saw the pictures of the road. That's how my accident occurred. I'm like, I was lucky to walk away from mine. So I know. I definitely know. So so I think now we can take a moment of silence. I think about I don't have any bells to ring, but we take about 10 seconds and just, so all right, I think that's 10 seconds. All right. Okay, so we got to move on. And I definitely want to switch gears to the NFL playoffs because that was a crazy weekend this past weekend. Uh, we seen, and it's funny. I was so focused on the NFC that I completely forgot about the AFC because there were crazy games on there too. Um, I know that I can jokingly call the NFC playoffs the NFC East playoffs because obviously 3 out of the 4 NFC East teams made it in, minus the Commanders, because again, they lost their momentum making switches when they didn't need to make switches, not knowing that losing would eliminate them from the playoffs. But that's neither here nor there. But we saw the Giants beat the Vikings. We seen the Cowboys beat the Bucks, which I think everyone saw that coming. And the way that game played out,
Saw the Cowboys beat down the Bucks.
Yes, they just beat the shit out of them. It was like, what are you guys doing in here? Get out. Oh man, I think the analogy it's like this. If for those that seen The Last of Us episode one, the show, I'm gonna talk about that towards the end too. Um, if you got to the part, oh wait a minute, nope, I can't say nothing. Damn, I can't even use that analogy because now everyone's seen it. That'll be a spoiler unless you played the game. But this anyway. But they basically beat down the Bucks, so it's setting up 3 out of 4 teams in the divisional round are NFC East uh, participants. You got the Giants versus the Eagles, and you have the Cowboys versus 49ers. And that's funny because both are rivalry games. Because you got the old Cowboys 49ers rivalry, you got that going, and then you have the Giants and Eagles NFC East rival, and it sets up for a possible all NFC East NFC championship, which I think the last one I saw, I didn't see it. I was alive for it, but I didn't see it. Was Washington versus Dallas way back in the early '80s. So, what are your thoughts on those playoff games in the NFC? And then I I I slipped up, and the AFC has some crazy games too, including that Jacksonville I'm about to call them San Diego. Might as well call them San Diego. It doesn't matter; they're eliminated. So,
Might as well, same frauds.
pretty much.
You want to talk about the past week or these potential matchups coming up?
Well, we can roll it all in one.
Okay. I mean, look, the Cowboys look dominant this past week, and honestly, out of all teams in the playoffs, I think the Cowboys look the best. Um, it's not often that the Cowboys win a game that is a gimme, right? Like they usually win the games they're not supposed to win when their backs are against the and oh shit, the Cowboys got to face this team and they play above their heads, right?
Mm-hmm.
This was a game that you expected the Cowboys to be the Cowboys and play down to their competition, and they said no, we're not going to do that, and they came out and they beat the Bucks down. They dominated in all phases. The Giants exceptional against the Vikings have a shitty defense. That's not a secret. Behind Parker, and his explanation for it, quite frankly, I did not like. He said he felt like he was about to get sacked. He didn't, he didn't at any point try to extend the play, get out of the pocket. And it fucking lost him the game. I mean, I'm not going to put the whole loss on him, but that play was the end of the game. I give the Giants a pretty good chance to upset this week. I don't know if I'm quite picking it.
I don't know if it says breaking news. Vikings fired the defensive coordinator Ed Donatel. So there you go. As far as the Vikings defense,
there you go. It's fucking defense, fucking trash. Let's see who we NFC. We had who else we have in the NFC? No, I'm tripping. What was that again? Yeah.
No, those are. Let's see, because remember you had the other one was kind of because you had the Cowboys, Bucks, Giants versus Vikings, and then
Seahawks and 49ers.
Yeah, I forgot because all but the one seed has to play that opening weekend. It looked good up until
this
the
is my
second
opinion.
half. Yeah.
Game between Cowboys and 49ers. It did. It game between be representative for the NFC in the Super Bowl. That is my opinion. I'm not sure yet. I don't know if I'm picking Dallas. I don't know if I'm picking San Fran. I think Dallas matches up pretty well. I think they can defend the run pretty well, which is going to kind of stymie some of those things that 49ers do really well. So, I mean, I think the winner of that game will probably be representing the NFC, quite honestly.
I think it's probably going to be the winner of that Giants Eagles game is going to represent the NFC. Because for some reason, I don't think Dallas wins that game against 49ers, but I'm like, call me a Dallas hater or whatever. I'm like, I said to somebody that the 49ers look like that was a team, even on their third string quarterback, looked like they can go all the way. But I'm like, there was a little bit of chinks in that armor of purity. So I'm like, if the team that faces them, whether it's the Cowboys or whether they get past the Cowboys and whoever, either the Eagles or Giants, they could possibly exploit some of his inexperience. But he's been pretty good, so we'll see. But I think the winner, the representative of the NFC, is coming out of the Eagles Giants game.
Yeah, I don't really see anybody beating San Fran if it's not Dallas. I don't trust Philly. And I definitely don't trust the Giants in the NFC title game. I think 49ers are the best team, the most complete team left in the playoffs on either conference.
Mm,
So if Dallas, I mean, I don't see a way that Dallas loses to the Eagles or the Giants. I mean, it's not that the Cowboys can't suffer a letdown, but I'd say just as far as if you throw out their history and just look at this team, they're pretty fucking good. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. It can go either way once you get divisional matchups anyway. So
mm-hmm. All right, so on the AFC side, let me just go back because I have the little NFL thing up because I know the matchups coming up. It's
Chargers at
going
the
to be,
Jaguars,
yep, it was Chargers at the Jaguars, and then it was the Bengals. No, it was the Ravens at the Bengals.
Bengals hosting the Ravens.
Oh, that game,
Mm-hmm.
that game. To me, that game came down to one play, and that's why the guy doesn't have a job anymore. And then what was the other game? I think it was because
uh,
mm,
shit.
yeah,
Well,
it shows how much we were paying
whole
attention to AFC.
Dolphins.
Oh yeah, Buffalo and Dolphins, and yeah, that was no wonder no one was paying attention to that. Everyone knew that the Bills were going to win that. It looked shaky at the beginning. It looked like for a second the Dolphins could possibly still pull that out, but nope, that wasn't going to happen. But I want to go back. I want to go back and talk about this Bengals Ravens game because that one play, everyone knows the play I'm talking about. You're at the 2 yard line or 1.5, whatever, regardless. You chose a quarterback sneak, and then the execution, because remember, there's the play call. You can blame the coordinator for that. Then there's the execution. So why in the hell are you diving from the 1.5 yard mark as the QB, sticking the ball out like you got somewhere? Your arms aren't that long, and then obviously it gets knocked out. They take it the other way for the touchdown. The worst possible thing that could happen on that play happened. So Greg Roman was fired today, along with a bunch of other offensive coordinators that were fired. I know Washington, not in the playoffs, they fired theirs. Turner, he's gone. But yeah, I'm like, Greg Roman he had been there for a long time. And, while the offense was rolling a little bit, but it was kind of stagnant because it relied on the run game and the tight end. And that's why RG3 highlighted this in a tweet today. He talked about the fact that that's why Ravens couldn't attract any wide receivers because they looked at that was like, I'm not getting the ball. I'm like, Deshaun Jackson got there. He signed. He thought he was going to get an opportunity. And what happened? Nothing. I'm like, if the guy with the biggest deep threat on your team and you can't get to him, how? How does – because of Greg Roman, the play calling. And then you also have to blame the head coach because he oversees it. I'm like, it goes through him. It's not one of those things where Roman's calling the plays and Harbaugh's like, I didn't know he called that. Yeah, you knew he called that and you let it go. So I think he's in the hot seat this season coming up. So Ravens may have a new head coach and they possibly could have a new quarterback.
Let's remember J.K. Dobbins. Well,
Mm-hmm.
let's remember J.K. Dobbins called
Yeah.
out pretty much the entire fucking situation and all but shit on the quarterback and said if we had Lamar Jackson, we would won. Just saying.
And that's
Uh,
and that's
Not a good
another
look, man. It's
situation.
not a good look.
And that's another situation with with Lamar Jackson. RG3 involved again because everyone remembers RG3 was playing for Baltimore for a couple of years, and he mentioned this dude, and I'm sure they talked about when RG3 that 2012 playoff game against Seattle when I'm like he originally injured his knee against the Ravens earlier in the season, and Griffin even says, "I wish there was somebody that would have pulled the reins back on him and told him not to play." Because he was like, look, every player is going to say, hey, I can play. I can play. That's a given. So I'm sure he shared that knowledge with Jackson. And with Jackson's explanation, it's like an exact replica of what Griffin went through. Like they had him. Remember, Griffin had that big black bulky knee brace, and obviously it didn't do him any good because when he had to
Yeah, one of the most
recover,
disgusting,
yeah,
one of the most disgusting knee braces I've ever seen. I'm gonna say it was terrible. It was damn near down ankle.
yeah, it looked like shackles from slavery times. That's what it reminded me of. But yeah, and
That's what it
you
turned
know,
out to
it
be.
kind of
But anyway.
I'm like, and even with because Michael Vick has said he had I don't know if he said it on a show or he had said just put a brace on it and go like. And Griffin tweeted out, "It's like this is what
Yeah, fuck
happens.
that. Fuck that
Put a
guy too.
brace on it and go." I'm like players be showing in their careers for these fans and organizations that don't give a shit about you after they've used you up. So it's kind of twofold. It's like, look, you want to play long in this league,
Michael
you
Vick
gotta take
came
care of
back
your
and
body.
started saying a lot of dumb shit because he killed them damn dogs.
Yeah, and you know, and it's funny because we sometimes go out and defend him, but like, look, he paid his price and whatever, but then he does this dumb shit, and it's just like, look, you got like a second and third chance right now. You paid for whatever crimes you committed. Don't be saying this dumb shit about other people. I'm like, I don't know, but yeah, but I think Griffin has steered this young man the right way, and it's like, look, also at the same time, he's a pending free agent. Lamar Jackson is, so it's just like He's trying to get the bag right now, and he has shown how valuable he is to the team because I mean, Dobbins is right. If Jackson is there, they win the game. They have a higher chance of winning the game. But if everything played out the same exact way it played out with Lamar Jackson there would have been different results. I can almost guarantee that. Oh, look who showed up. Neff in the chat. Hey, what's up, Neff? I see you in there talking about N words. What up? Yeah, you got any money for
N
me?
word sounds worse than the actual word. I'm not gonna lie.
think when it
Not
somebody
gonna,
did
not
a
gonna lie.
I think somebody did a skit based on the N word, but it wasn't like the N word we all think about. But I see that N word didn't bring any money, so you know I ain't seen any notifications on the PayPal or anything. Anyway,
Oh, typical N word.
mm-mm-mm. All right, so it seemed like we did skip over the matchups that are coming up for the AFC. I was about to move on, but we do have the matchups for the AFC. We have Jacksonville
Niggas
versus.
is this. Niggas is.
I know of a
Read
Z.
the chat. That's what he
I know.
put.
I see it. I see
Niggas
it.
is.
I know, right? Yeah, this is what he did. This is what he put out. There you go. All right, so you have Jacksonville versus Kansas City, and then you have Buffalo versus Cincinnati. So I think Um, Obviously, I think Kansas City is going to win that Jacksonville game, and then I guess I would say Buffalo's on a roll, but I kind of give the Bengals a benefit of doubt because they were the AFC champions last year, so they could go into Buffalo and knock them out, and then possibly set up a neutral site AFC championship. What do you think?
I'm taking the Bengals in the Super Bowl. And yeah, so that means they'd have to win this week and then beat the Kansas City in Kansas City. And I got them doing it. So I'll take the Bengals winning the next 2 weeks, and I guess I'll take City pulling away late against them.
Mm, gotcha. All right, so that is the NFL playoff talks. If there's anything else, like NFL wise, because like I said, there've been a whole bunch of firings, job openings, black coaches being let go after a short
Oh
tenure.
wait,
Yeah, so
wait. Let's talk about Byron Leftwich because these Buccaneers fans
mm,
are, for once, the only people who are actually making some sense because everybody outside of Tampa Bay seems to think that it was wrong for Byron Leftwich to get fired. Well, let's just take a look at this. So on Monday, I said something that has really been an indication of the entire season as far as Byron Leftwich is concerned. The Buccaneers are best when they're playing with tempo, and their best when, regardless of them running the ball well or not, they're running play action. Leftwich chose that on one fucking drive, and they looked great. And then he stopped doing it. Like the first drive all year that he did it. That's why Tampa Bay looks so fucking awful offensively. That's why Tom Brady and Mike Evans look off kilter offensively. That's why it was difficult to protect Brady this year. You know, I saw State of Franchise. This is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about motherfuckers that are responding to people that they follow. State of Franchise responded to this dumbass that said that Tom Brady's arm is on a string or it's a noodle. Or have you watched this year? Or are you just talking shit? You just watch one game? You fucking idiot! Hey, Tom Brady's a noodle. Who's your fucking? Have you ever thrown a football? Have you caught a football? Did all you catch is dick? Is that what you caught? Like, it's crazy to me. It's crazy to me that these people come on Twitter and say this shit and they actually want to be taken seriously. Tom Brady's arm is not on a string. There were several games where Tom Brady was making accurate throws and there were drops. Plain and simple. I'm not saying that he was even the Tom Brady that he was the first year, but we got to stop with this whole, Byron Leftwich was hung out to dry. No, Byron Leftwich was ordained as the guy, and Bruce Arians left him in charge. Shit, you know what, complimentary? I'm about tired of your kumbaya Bob Marley shit that you're trying to do over here. Okay? Let me cook, all right? See, when Russ cooked, he burnt the house down. But when I'm cooking, it's gonna be some good shit. All right. So don't do that. But nah, I'm just tired of these people. It's just sad. Such a sacrificial lamb. Please. They looked at it. They cleaned house. It wasn't just Byron Leftwich. They considered this the last year to convince Brady to stay. And now they know that he's leaving and he's either retiring or he's going to play elsewhere. And that's what it comes down. So how can you be mad because Byron Leftwich got fired? Like, he also was the same dude that was calling offense through 30-something fucking picks. Just saying. He didn't just get there in the year Tom Brady got there. He's been there. Like, come on, bro.
So, and then in regards to the Commanders and firing Scott Turner or North Turner Jr., it was just simply you didn't utilize the people you had on the field in play calling. You didn't utilize. You tried to. It was like the thing that bothered me the most about.
And I noticed that.
Yeah, was okay. You had Carson Wentz in there. Okay, you can call it. you can call the plays that you can, because I feel like Carson Wentz can do a lot of those things that they were calling. But the moment he went down, you have Heineke in there. You're trying to do the same thing with Heineke that you were doing for Wentz. But let's go back to what worked for Heineke: read option, RPOs, uh, get the ball quick out of his hands. You know he doesn't have the arm that Wentz has. Why are you trying to get him to throw deep unless it's obvious? Like, the only time he's able to complete a lot of deep passes is when it's set up. And the boy could be Heineke. He's sneaky accurate. He's not consistently accurate. He's sneaky accurate. And and on top of that, he was the only player. Well, up until the last game, he was the only player that those players who were playing up for. And then Ron Rivera obviously ruined that by switching to the guy they played down for, didn't play for at all. But then when you get Howard in the game for the last game against the Cowboys, you're running a lot of stuff you would have ran for Heineke. You should have ran for Heineke or called for Heineke. Like, okay, so what are you trying to do here? And that's probably what got him fired. Ron's looking at him like, shouldn't you just been calling this for Heineke from the very beginning? I'm like, we wouldn't have lost at least those 3 games if you would have called those plays. And I wouldn't have sat there and made the decision that I made. Well, Ron Rivera's decision was dumb anyway. So they fired him. So hopefully they find somebody. All I'm looking for in an offensive coordinator is be able to call plays that utilize at any moment all your weapons. I'm like, you got McLaurin, you have Gibson, you have Robinson, you have Thomas, you have Samuels, you have Dotson. What all you need? Like, improve that line for whoever you're going to have back there quarterback. You're going to need that, but you have the weapons in place. Call the plays that utilize them. I remember Scott Turner once or twice a year will call a play that's just pure genius, where he would have Gibson in the slot and he would have Samuels, McLaurin, and Thomas in a diamond formation. He could run a jet sweep off of that with a motion. He could run drags. Defenses, you couldn't match up with any of these guys. But no, he would go back to something plain Jane, and that's why he's gone. So let me pull up Neff's chat. It said Brady should just go what? And call it a career and be the only he's I think he already turned 46, so he wouldn't be 45 to play in every league, then get remarried and get divorced and then retire.
No, he's still 45.
Oh, I thought he had turned 46 already. Well, he turned 46 this year though. So
who are you a fan of? What is Tom Brady?
Cowboys fan.
It's like a Schneid. It's like he's a Cowboys fan.
Yeah. Oh, he's a Cowboys fan.
I mean, naturally, you're just envious that you don't have Tom Brady. Sounds like a Schneid fucking, account with Schneid running it in the background and fucking telling people.
That's just a hint for what.
Yeah,
that will happen. It won't happen here. It's gonna happen on. Yeah. I'm like, because those debates have been interesting to watch from afar. So. You got that on your time. So let's see what else he says. Brady's arm is at best 75%.
Very fun. Brady's arm is 75%, no matter where he goes at full strength.
His arm is better than a lot of quarterbacks in the league. I'll take Brady's arm over Wentz's arm.
Yeah, like Dakota. Like Dakota Prescott for what? Let me stop.
Dakota. Didn't they do like a? I thought I saw on Instagram where they did a female version of each quarterback in the league, and of course Russell Wilson's version was the ugliest out of all of them. He looked rough.
She looked. It's like talking about Abby. You forget which.
Yeah.
Did he say Brady to Indy? I already told you Brady's going to Denver with Sean
Did we
Payton.
not just see what happened to Matt Ryan in Indy?
Right, that offensive line is putrid all of a sudden. I don't know how.
Right.
They built that offensive lineup. It was like one of the best in the league behind Philip Rivers.
Mhm.
Now that's a noodle arm, Philip Rivers. That's fucking noodle.
Mhm.
Okay. Last year of his career, that shit was ugly. And I'm never a fucking fan of Philip Rivers, but that shit even made me sad. Okay. No, Tom Brady going to fucking Indy. You kidding me? It's either the Raiders, his former offensive coordinator, or Sean Payton in Denver. Or if they want to get rid of Mike McDaniel, I don't know why they will want to. Maybe he'll go to Miami. I don't know.
Mm.
All I know is he doesn't have Giselle holding him back anymore. So, you know, he can play as long as he wants to.
Playing that, he'll all of a sudden appear in the XFL. All right, let's see what Neff said. I don't like Dak. He is not a top 10. He needs a Super Bowl to go with that paycheck, or he'll be the next Romo.
He already won more playoff games than Romo. What?
See, that's what happens when you're a Cowboys fan. You go dumb.
Bro,
Big D stands for Big Dummy.
But we're gonna. Yes, I don't know.
Also stands for dipshit. But Brady to the Commanders. That's not happening. Next.
Brady's going to a ready-made team. He's not going to go to a team that's in the process of building a contender. He's going to go to a team that is already made, or that has, you know, I mean, Tampa Bay wasn't necessarily made, but they brought a lot of people along with him. It's going to be a situation like that. These holes been holding. I'm so done.
Yeah, I know, right?
Cheating off season. Motherfucker on vacation with this bitch to try to reconcile shit. And rusty as a fucking fishing knife. Oh, and fucking opening day. I'm like, whoa, this is not the Tom Brady. This motherfucker is looking like some dog shit right now. He took a page out of Aaron Rodgers' playbook the last playoff game he played this year, you know, mid.
Yeah, because right now, damn. Okay, so right now, I would say Brady is in a situation that LeBron James is in. So you have the greatest still playing, but definitely needs a lot of help in order for that thing to go. I'm like, you talk about the Lakers for a quick second. You need Russ to be old Russ, not new Russ. You need
not old Russ. You need Russ to be old.
You need AD.
Old Russ, not old Russ.
You need AD to get a new medical plan, and you need just
get some new knees. Get some new knees, a new back.
What is? He never won a big game that matters. It would beat a wounded Bucks team of 8-9.
Prove something to me. I mean, if you're a Cowboys fan, you remember when they were losing. Should have been losing.
And then let me see.
Just saying.
A couple preliminaries. Like, all jokes aside, Brady would look nice in as nice as what's his name that used to play Flacco in a Jets uniform. He could play the Patriots at least twice. No,
they don't have enough offensive firepower. And I don't mind either because, you know, Zach Wilson, Mike White didn't really matter in the end. I did also see a report that apparently there were some people that were very unhappy when they put Zach Wilson back, which was predictable because he's clearly not that guy.
They don't like MILF hunters, apparently. So, all right. Jesus. So,
by the way, this is a Q&A. People leaving questions in the comment section.
Exactly. And I could see it was turning into that. Yep, exactly. So don't bitch up now. Now that we announced it, well, you guys knew about it before coming into the show. So not only did you not bring money, you didn't bring any questions. So,
right, you didn't bring shit. You just. God.
Can I have some more?
Motherfucker, just show up and not bring.
Can I have some more?
Right? No, you can't.
But anyway, all right. So moving on. Okay. Preliminary just popped up for question. Is Zach Wilson done? No, at least not with the Mills. I don't know about the NFL, but I know he ain't done with the Mills just yet. So if he arrives on your
um,
team, be hide
Jesus
your moms,
Christ.
hide your aunts, hide everybody, hide your grandmothers too. He may be
That dude
on the
was on Demon
prowl.
Time sleeping with his mother's friend. How fucking awkward is that shit?
Maybe she handed
Um,
her to him. I don't know. I might see how many these scenes set up. Who knows? All right. Anyway,
I can't
so
answer that question seriously.
so what really everybody came here for is what John Wall had to say. Because recently had an interview earlier this week that was released on YouTube. I forgot the name of the channel that released it. Um, so
Theo
that's L on my
Pinson
part.
runs it. He plays for the Mavericks. That's all you need to know.
Gotcha. So John Wall had a ton of interesting things to say. Now, it was an hour and a half long interview, and here on this show, we're not going to tell you all about it. You can actually go check it out. You can just Google it, and it'll pop up. But one thing that did point out to me, that did stick out to me, was his time in Washington, because obviously that was the time I was watching him as a fan of the Wizards, fan of John Wall. I think it was around the end time that Gilbert Arenas was bowing out, basically handed the team off to John, and then it went from there. But it's not necessarily while he played with Washington, it's at the end that is the most interesting, because Bills and I talked about this on another podcast long ago when that trade occurred, when John Wall was traded to Houston for Russell Westbrook. And I think we both stated that this was not going to work for neither squad. Most particular Washington, because you weren't going to get that same chemistry between Beal and Westbrook that you got with John Wall and Beal. Now, Beal had different chemistry with Westbrook, and it worked somewhat, but you knew it wasn't going to work. And then Westbrook was gone the next year. John Wall even points that out as a shot to the management. But here's the thing that really pissed a lot of people off, because it involves front office conducting business without being upfront, basically just lying to John Wall throughout the whole process of this whole trade. Basically, John put it out there that he didn't hear from his management about this trade, the rumors, and obviously it came after that whole gang sign incident. He said his friend, some random person, was filming. He didn't understand, and also you have to think about that time period in John Wall's career. Been injured a couple of times. He's been out for a long time. Mother passed away, and there was a little girl that had passed away that he was close to. That all that happened all at once. So it was like he was in a dark place, and he was just trying to vent, let out some energy, try to have some fun, and it got posted. And then management was upset about that. But apparently, management held that grudge about that incident, and secretly were working to trade John Wall, while John Wall was thinking, oh, everything's cool, because that's what they told him. So people like Ted Leonsis and Tommy Shepard basically lied to this man, said everything's cool. Even had this man dress up for Wizards Media Day in New Jersey, knowing they were going to trade him. So when they did trade him, the first person he heard from was Russell Westbrook himself. If that's what I heard right, it was Russell Westbrook that called him. It was like, hey, what was it? He had texted him about the number, or like, do you have your number, or something of that nature. And then John Wall's asking his agent, it's like, what's going on? Are they trying to trade me? But all that happened, and then the time that they did call him was when he got traded. Because I guess the way Wall put it, was that as he called, spoke to Shepard, the ticker, just like the ticker that's here on this show, revealed the trade that John Wall had been traded for Westbrook. So they did that man dirty, and he also said the city was angry and still angry. That was clear because when John Wall played the game, when he came back as a Clipper and played the game back in December, folks were cheering for him. They were cheering for him more. They were cheering for Beal. I don't think Beal played in that game, but they were cheering for him more than they were cheering for the Wizards. And the Clippers won that game. But John Wall was like, "This is still my city," and everybody got up and cheered, whether they were Wizards fans or Clippers fans. So that was that whole thing. If people weren't already upset at front office management, John Wall just opened the doors for that to be discussed all over again because that's shitty for your at that time franchise player that was handing it off to Beal to be the franchise player. It didn't. He kind of said something about Beal his interaction that Bill kind of hesitated when he was like when Wall had asked him, "Hey, do you want to run it back another year?" And Bills was like, "I had to think about it." I was like, "What do you mean you gotta think about it?" So I don't know. What about that interview did 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 you get from that?
Um, I mean, it's just weird because we knew it was a lateral move to begin with. We knew it was a move to make in the first place, and this just reminds me of the Boogie Cousins situation where they lied to his face and said we're not going to trade you in the same day they trade us away. And these franchises, it's just funny. Fans always want to talk about players not having any loyalty. There's nothing to be loyal to at the end of the day. There's nothing to be loyal to. The fans are just as fickle as these franchises are, and they might not want to hear it, but it's fucking true. It's true. The fans are just as fickle as John Wall is one of the greatest wizards of all time, in my opinion. This is from the outside talking. I think he's one of the greatest wizards of all time. When you think about a lot of great Wizards moments, and we're talking Wizards and Bullets, it doesn't really matter. Under that umbrella, he is one of the greatest players. If you think about the resurgence of the Wizards when he got there, it was all him. I mean, if you look at the guys he was playing with before Beal really started to come up, he was playing with Marcin Gortat and, Otto Porter, who was young and not really playing just yet, and the Morris twins, who were inconsistent, Marcus Morris or Markeith, I forget which one it
It
was.
was Markeith.
But,
It was Markeith.
okay, Mark. Yeah, I mean, he was doing, John Wall was so good, people were criticizing him. Um, they were criticizing him, and he was having 20 and 10 seasons, and they were criticizing him for not still having a consistent jump shot. But I mean, you couldn't keep him out of the lane, and that dude played well in big games. And they talked about that Celtics series, and me and DJ talked about that Celtics series at length. I mean, we talked about it throughout the entire series. We like meet up and talk about the shit every game. We're like, man, you see these calls? What shit? They ain't gonna be a road team to win the series. He pretty much talked the rivalry, and then they showed up in their little, we're wearing black tonight because it's gonna be a funeral. They got their ass kicked, got their shit pushed in, and they were lucky enough to have a home game to end that series, because if they didn't, they would have fucking went home. The other thing that stood out to me was Wall talking about they would have beat the Cavs' ass. He's not out of pocket for saying that. The Wizards were tough that year. They were fucking tough, man. They would have had a better chance than the fucking Celtics did. Celtics got their ass. I mean, they got a gentleman's sweep, but shit, they had no chance in that series, especially with IT not playing. But if you put the Wizards up against, When I was just gonna say, if you put the Wizards up against the Cavaliers that year, I mean, it would have been interesting. They always did kind of play the Cavaliers hard, whether it was the regular season or the playoffs. I mean, I don't know. It would have been interesting. But yeah, I mean, overall, great interview. John Wall was always one of my favorite players, and he's on a team that has a chance to go pretty far in the playoffs now, which is great. And he's healthy, which is great. And we're gonna see.
Yeah, and there was another thing that popped up in that interview. And first of all, the name of the YouTube channel is Title League. That's TIDAL League. So that's the YouTube channel that the interview is up on. So
So
you can
that's a
catch the
Jay-Z
full.
platform.
Oh yeah, I didn't even catch that. Wait a minute, I thought he saw. I thought he sold Title, or did he just sell the app? Oh,
I think you just sold the app.
okay, so yeah, because I know I was on there for a little bit, but yeah, it's on the Title League YouTube channel. It's the full interview, about almost 2 hours long. So definitely want to get some food. It's an enjoyable interview. I loved it. And the other thing that actually he pointed out was why he chose Kentucky over UNC. And there were, I think, a couple of reasons. The
Uh,
one in particular, the one person did respond and said that shit wasn't true. And that's the idea that Tyler Hansborough told him when he tried to meet him. When John Wall tried to meet Tyler Hansborough, because he looked up to him, was like, hometown. I'm trying to, play at the school. It's like I don't talk to recruits. And John was like, oh, okay, all right.
okay.
And then there was a secondary reason, and the name Dexter Strickland came up. And I guess
Mm-hmm.
that was a game where John Wall abused the shit out of him. And then there was another reason where the whole, I guess, in a tournament game, the whole North Carolina team was in that tournament. And I think John Wall and somebody else, they abused the shit out of the whole North Carolina team. And I don't think it was Strickland that he was talking about. There was another person that they brought that was going to be brought into UNC. And it was like, you chose that guy over me? And one thing that we got to know about John Wall, that he remembers everything. He holds grudges. He would do well in the old NBA because he's not about making friends on the court. He's trying to kill you. He's trying to show you why he's better. He's a dog out there on the court. And that's what I liked about John Wall. I'm like, everybody was critical of him because he didn't like to play defense. I'm like, today's NBA, who really does like to play defense? No one really likes to play defense. It is hard. I'm like,
Let's be honest. Most people have never liked to play defense. Now, whether if you're good at it is completely different. But I don't
right,
think most people like to play defense. So that's not
right.
really a valid criticism in the first place.
And that's why I looked at fans and it was just like, because when it came to the Wizards, their best year was it wasn't, to me, it felt like it wasn't a 2017 team. It was that team where Randy Whitman was coaching. Oh, was it the 2017 team? Oh, whatever the case. He had that team defensive first, defensive minded. And it was the last time you really saw two big men on the court at the same time with Gortat and Nene. So this was the team before. So this had to have been the 2014-2015 team, because that 2017 team was the team that now all of them are shooting threes versus the 2014, because that was the year Paul Pierce came and made that one shot. Talk about I call game. And we didn't win that series.
God.
So, but yeah, I mean,
Paul Pierce annoys me.
yeah, for a guy, how many times he gets stabbed?
A lot. Trying to sleep with this bitch over by the projects, and I know exactly where it was. Sleeping with some dude's girl. Yeah, don't try to lie. PPE was a stupid name anyway.
So defense is either it's in you or it's not. And that is true. I know. I think Michael Jordan talked about it. Well, you got it. There was, trust me. I'm like, we've played basketball, and we pretty much, like, when it comes to the defensive side of the ball, that's a lot of energy. To me, I felt like there was more energy that you had to expend than you would on offense. Like defense, you have to anticipate and be in spots before that other person got to that spot. Or if you wanted to shut somebody down, that's a lot more. I remember, okay, case in point, I was on a traveling team, and there was a particular player that on the other team that we were playing up against that was their main scorer. They assigned me to him. My assignment was to shut this guy down.
Right.
It took everything I had to shut this guy down, and I was able to accomplish that. He was
Right.
left-handed, so I took away his left side. I played close. I stuck with him. I made everything hard for him. But you know what happened? We played him again. He adapted, and he was able to get over a lot of the stuff that I was trying to do the same thing. But that game, I didn't have as much energy as I did that first game, so I couldn't stay close to him. I couldn't like get the energy to play the same type of defense, the harassing defense that was playing the first game that shut him down. He was able to do a lot more in the second game. So to do that, not just between two games, but to do that for 82 games plus playoffs, that's why you kind of give credit to players who overall are good defensively, like Kawhi Leonard and LeBron James and so many others that will play defense more often than not.
I think to be elite or to be really good, it has to be in you or not. But I don't think to be a competent defender that it has to be in you. Because I mean, Stephen Curry was not a very good defender up until a couple of years ago, and he's become a better defender. I think it's a matter of just understanding the importance of it to your team versus, if it doesn't if you don't have to be a defensive stopper, you won't put as much emphasis on it. I think it all comes down to the situations. I mean, half the time they were hiding Stephen Curry from the best offensive matchup on the other side. So it's just sometimes it's just a matter of your surroundings too.
Mm. Yeah, but again, overall, just just to go back to John Wall, that was a nice, great interview. A lot of info, a lot of memories were being shared. Saying that a lot of people would have never really heard of John Wall if it wasn't for, I forgot the particular person he shouted out, but if he hadn't, that guy hadn't snuck in to a couple of those tournaments and filmed, we wouldn't have
Oh
never
yeah, that
seen
guy.
any of these mixtapes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, John Wall is a legend in DC. Still is. I'm like, he's on that Mount Rushmore DC athletes. You got Ovechkin, Wall. Um, they still haven't figured out the football one though. I'm like, probably had to win recently to get it. I'm like, they would probably put like a. They
Who's the
probably put like
baseball one?
Oh, that's right. It would have been Bryce Harper, but he left and
But he
predicted
didn't
that we
win
would.
here, and he left. Yeah, I know that was
And
coming.
then he predicted that we would win. It's like, I'm just gonna leave, but before I go, you guys are gonna win the World Series next year. Oops, I'm sorry. I mean, like
Oh,
when we went into Philly.
I was gonna say Ryan Zimmerman, but that should be weak. I mean, I like Ryan Zimmerman. He kind of weak though.
Ah,
No.
I'm like, he's legendary in his own
I
right,
mean,
but I
I'm a
wouldn't.
guy. I'm a Chantel guy, but
Yeah,
no.
I'm like, he died. That shouldn't be the reason he should be on Mount Rushmore. Like
Yeah,
honored,
unfortunately.
yes, but not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
John Riggins?
because you got John Riggins, but then you have Art Monk. And then, but
Mm,
then here's the thing: the thing that was steady with John Riggins, Art Monk, and all those three Super Bowls Washington won was the offensive line. So the Hogs, I'm like, there's like two or three. I think three out of
who
four
was
of
the
them have
coach?
Joe Gibbs. There you go, the
So
coach.
maybe you had to mooch. I was gonna say man to put a coach is.
Yeah, because the quarterbacks, and see, that's another thing about quarterbacks in Washington's history. See, a lot of times I I understand Washington's history with quarterbacks to know that we shouldn't be going gaga for the next quarterback every time our current quarterback doesn't work out. Because Mark Rippon, the third quarterback to win the Super Bowl under
Mm.
Joe Gibbs, because before Mark Rippon was Doug Williams. Before Doug Williams, it was Joe Theismann. The only coach that's won a Super Bowl with three different quarterbacks is Joe Gibbs.
Ooh, Joe Theismann.
So, or Thiesman. I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
put
we've
that
been
in your
saying his
pipe and
name
smoke
wrong.
it, bitch ass
Thiesman.
Bill Belichick.
Thiesman. Yeah, we've been saying Joe Theismann's name wrong. It's Thiesman. Remember? You were the one that corrected me one
Because
time. It was
Parcells won
Thiesman.
with yeah. Because Parcells won with two.
Yeah, that's right. Phil Sims and Jeff Hostetler. And
Mm-hmm.
then
But no, nobody else won with three.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. But yeah, so it would have to be Joe Gibbs. I'm like, because even when he comes, he does come back. They finally got Art Monk to come back for one of the alumni games. I thought that was crazy. The preliminaries, like George Mirasan. I'm like, yeah, he's great amongst fans, but I'm like, you got Wes
Man,
Unseld, you got Phil Chenier.
we'll just say
Speaking of
Manute
which,
Bowl. Like, what the,
oh god, Michael Adams, Muggsy Bogues. How about them? Speaking of which, okay,
that
so
Michael Adams made an All-Star game as a Bullets player
that
too.
is
Good.
true. So here's the thing. Okay, so offline, I've been playing NBA 2K23, my era, starting from the '83 season.
Oh, I need to bash that too.
Oh man, it's
Mm-hmm.
been interesting because I never thought a game would have me go back and look over old game footage. Bills, I know you're deep into you have deep knowledge as far as basketball strategies, play styles between the different decades. But
Right.
it was just like I played the first game
Right.
against the defending champions, the 76ers. Got my ass
Sixers. Mm-hmm.
whipped.
Wait, no. I think. Oh yeah, because you said 84. Never mind. Good. I'm sorry.
Mm. Well, it was the 83-84 season. So the previous season, they beat the
Yeah,
Lakers. So they were coming off that year.
yeah.
So I was getting
And
killed
they
by
swept them actually.
yeah, and I was getting. Oh yeah, and there was an injury that occurred in the Western Conference Finals that made that more possible because. But anyway, I got my ass whipped by the Philadelphia 76ers. Moses Malone was killing me. Dr. J was doing exactly what his name indicated because he was killing me with the mid range game, which was a lot of teams that was a period everybody was hitting. But one thing that I was missing and I approved upon after watching old game footage of the Washington Bullets, because mind you, I was only 3 years old when this season started. So I didn't know how the Wizards
Mm-hmm.
were playing with a Jeff Rulin, um, young Jeff Malone, uh, Rick Mahorn, knowing that he's just strictly there for
Jeff Rowland
rebounds
was
and
nice.
defense. Let's see. And then Sobers, like names like that I didn't know. Frank Johnson. Um, and just going in and seeing like, okay, they're
And
all
I
good at
told
mid
you,
range.
real quick, I was
Mm-hmm.
doing the roster over and added a lot of bullets that they have because they didn't have all the guys licensed. So I actually had to go back and create those players with the generics that they had on there because they had a bunch of guys that weren't on there.
And I'm actually using a custom 83 roster with a custom 83 draft. So lurking or 84 draft. So lurking in the draft prospects is a Charles Barkley. It's all the obviously Michael Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
Um, who was picked before him? That Portland picked up. He's in there.
Sam Bowie.
Sam Bowie, Akeem Olajuwon, John Stockton, that class is just sitting, waiting, trying to figure out who's going to be the first, second, or third pick. I don't know if that I may wind up being there, even because I'm gonna go through and play it. And then, you know me, I try to play all the games. But going back and looking over old game footage and seeing clearly that the '80s is revived in today's NBA, just instead of mostly mid-range shots that they take at a fast up-tempo pace, they take three-pointers at an up-tempo pace. So everything that Bills has been saying about the past play styles, seeing how scores were in the 120s back then, and then you seen a dip in scoring in the 90s because the game slowed down a bit in the 90s. There were more set plays called. You had the triangle, which definitely slow things down, to now it's back to one-on-one basketball. I'm like, there's more, it's still team focused, but it's up and down, just like it was in the 80s. So I
Well,
changed.
DJ, they didn't
Yeah.
listen to me when I say this shit. Like, I tried to tell Smitty, I said, bro, you can debate with me if you want to, but you were like 3 when the shit was on your TV. I've gone back and watched it with adult eyes. I'm telling you, this is what was happening. You're not listening to me. I'm telling you, like, it's like, yeah, I'm only 29, about to be 30 in March, but I've watched it with
Mhm.
27, 28, 29-year-old eyes. So it's like you can't reverse the footage. The footage is right there. There's plenty of those games on
Mm-hmm.
YouTube to watch. When I tell people that the 70s was just as wide open without a 3-point line, when I tell them that the 80s was a lot of ISO ball and dudes going under
Mm-hmm.
screens they shouldn't have gone under, and not being able to help was supposed to help because it's illegal defense. And the only reason why it worked was because teams weren't putting a bunch of guys on the perimeter. When I say all this shit, I'm not just saying it because I will knock that era. That's how basketball was played. They were still scoring in the 120s, like you said. The only difference was the point guard's job was to initiate the play, and then the wings
Mm-hmm.
were coming off and taking mid-range jump shots. You toss it into the center, and Ruland was kind of running the offense from the high post, and then you get it's like all that stuff. Like I watched it, so I know what I'm talking about. I'm not just saying it just to knock the era. That's what it was.
And the funny thing was the difference it made. I changed my play style from the first game to the second game, even though I still lost because I was playing the Knicks in the second game. So I'm starting off the
Oh, they're
season three
good.
road game. Yeah. Oh God, I was getting it like towards the end of it, towards like the third, because I was hanging with the Knicks, like shot for shot, uh, mixing it up between Rulin, Sobers, Ballard. That was another guy that it was like, okay, Rulin was your main offensive threat, but then it was Ballard. I think it was Greg Ballard. And I would use
Mm-hmm.
him off of ISO in the mid range, have him come off the screens and stuff like that. But like I said, I would use Sobers. Frank Johnson was good mid range game. Jeff Malone. I actually hit a
Mm-hmm.
couple of threes with Jeff Malone. And then you also see that not many threes are taken. At the most, maybe 6
Mm-mm.
per team.
End of the shot
So,
clock.
yep, and that ended the shot clock. So, by going back and looking at the old footage, I changed how I played the game. Because the first game, I did more like offensive sets, slowed the game down because I had this preconceived notion about the Wizards of Bullets that that was a team that needed to slow the game down. Nope, I was wrong. After looking at the footage and seeing all those guys I just mentioned take mid-range jump shot, including Rulin, I start using them exactly the way they were in the footage, and I had played a better game. We still lost because wasn't getting to the free throw line a lot, and that was the difference. Um, as far as like the points totals being the same as they are now as they were in the 80s, there were a lot of free throw shots taken. I'm like, you see teams with
Mm-hmm.
40 free throw attempts in these games, whereas now it's like maybe 25. And I know when people are, and just this leads into another thing, a sidebar about when you're making sliders for 2K and you're trying to gauge how many foul shots teams take these days versus how many field goal shots they take. Keep in mind that those free throws take away from the shot attempts. So I know people's quests are like, okay, let me see if I can get a team to take like 90 shots per game. Technically, they do because they don't count the ones that they get fouled on and they miss. They'll count the ones they make, but they
Mm-hmm.
won't count as a shot attempt if he misses it. So that translates into the free throws. So that's where you look at the free throw attempts versus the shot attempts. You kind of like, okay, well, if a couple of those weren't fouls, then those were shot attempts. So,
Just to
but
cut in
yeah,
real quick, DJ. There's one thing that I don't like about this new mode that they added because they added a mode that's called Appreciate You State. Um, it's called a new. I think it's called My Era's Quick Play or something like
yep.
that.
I know.
The
Go
one
ahead.
thing is the fact that the one thing I don't like about that is that you can't bring in your roster. You have to use the default enough licensed players to warrant that roster. So why would you do that? You put it in the game, and yeah, it's great you have it in the game where you can play a quick game with the My Era's rosters, but it's not licensed. So there's still half the teams not licensed in generics. It's like, we still can't bring your custom roster into a freestyle practice if you wanted to practice a jump shot that you worked on or something like that. It's like, why are you leaving this shit out? It was in the game last year, and you take it
Mm-hmm.
out, and it makes it so annoying to create a jump shot for somebody, or like I said, if I want to just play a regular quick game, like let's say I'm making a roster, which I am, and I haven't worked on it in a while because of this very thing. If I'm working on a roster for the 1983 season and I want to test something, I have to go into the mode to test it. I can't just install, or I should say insert my custom to your new quick game mode and try it out there. There's no practice mode to try. It's like half-ass shit when I put it in. Why can we? It's almost like they don't like people making rosters, right? We don't have the access to the statement jerseys yet, the city jerseys. We don't have access to those. It's like the shit that they do to who put the actual legwork in embarrassing. At the same time, I'm not going to act like Eras isn't a great mode because it is a great mode. Make no mistake about it. Eras is a great mode. It captures, if you go play the Jordan Challenge, it's the same thing. It captures the essence of the way the game is played in those eras. I 100% agree with you. But you know that your roster's not fully licensed. Why further handicap us by not allowing us to import our roster and play a quick game? It makes no sense. In statement jerseys too, there's no reason why we should be in statement jerseys. So that's my spiel on that. But I'm glad you're playing the errors mode and you're enjoying it because I eventually am going to play it when I finish my roster. So
Yeah, because I like main thing was that I was dreading it because I just was not aware of how to play with that Bullets team. I remember put out a tweet. It's like, how do I survive a season with Rulin and Ballard as my main scorers? Well, it looks like I would just have to hang in a lot of these games. And I even went back and looked over even old box scores. I was like, there were a couple times Wizards Bullets. I keep saying Wizards. The Bullets would sneak one in on a Detroit, or that's going to be interesting playing up against Detroit, an early Detroit team with a young Bill Lane Beard and Isaiah Thomas. Because remember, we have Rick Mahorn, and I'm seeing how, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, how does Rick Mahorn wind up on Detroit? And then I seen a player on the Pistons that looked like he played for the Bullets at once. So I was like, maybe there was a trade at some point that happened, and Rick Mahorn went to the Pistons, and that dude was a white guy.
Let me tell you, Isaiah Thomas is a fucking terror. Because, see, this is back before he had the offensive weapons where he would play, like, prototypical point guard. So he was out there, like, trying to score and get his. And then Vinny Johnson was fucking starting. And Kelly Tripucka had a fucking automatic mid-range game.
That's the player. I think that's the player that the Bullets traded for. Because I think he wound up playing for the Bullets. I don't know if they were traded for each other, but Rick Mahorn winds up on the Pistons at some point. Not that season, but later on.
Because later in the 80s, they had a badass series against the Knicks led by Bernard King, one of the greatest scorers of that era. And they had some fucking battles, boy. It was, and I know he was later a Bullet after he was, he had his whole knee, his knee situation,
But that's the other thing, because again, against the Knicks, Bernard King and Bill Cartwright killed me, and especially Bill Cartwright towards the end defensively. Like I posted one play where I pretty much just dominated Bill Cartwright with Rulin, just like shoved him back and just ring rolled on. But I tried that same move going the other way in the second half. And Bill Cartwright was like, "Get that shit out of here!
Get that shit out of here! The blocks are so much better this year."
Right. So it's just like, it was at a point where it was like, okay, it looked like I was going to storm back. I was getting within two, got it to Rulin in the post. He backed him in, did a little shimmy just to fake him. I got him up, and then I was like, oh, I got a clear one. Got the ball in the air. Cartwright. And they ran down, they got down the point, and then Bernard King, God, yeah, he was killing me. Mid-range, that people don't realize how deadly mid-range jumpers were then versus now. I'm like, I think there are a few players now that I'm like a DeRozan that specializes in mid-range. Kawhi could specialize in the mid-range, but he plays all three as far as scoring is concerned. But it's like the mid range game in the 80s. Oh my god, you have to defend for that.
Oh,
But what's up?
um, another thing for people that plan on playing eras in the 80s, free agency. Let's talk about this because a lot of people are gonna wonder about the landscape of free agency. And I remember I was talking state of franchise all fucking day when I started up my Knicks franchise, and I was like, "Yeah, let me go and try to trade for somebody." The agents fucking do it because those teams, there were teams that had really like a lot of depth where you could go and trade for a really valuable fucking player and not have to trade like a boat. It wasn't like that in the 80s. Now you could do that now on the NBA roster because, you know, whether people want to agree or not, there are a lot more serviceable players on an NBA roster, top to bottom, plug in and have them be useful. Back then, a lot of these guys were just kind of just playing minutes just to play minutes. This is why a lot of the superstars were playing 44 minutes a game. There's a reason for that.
That's another
Teams weren't as
thing.
deep
Yeah.
back then. There were a lot of Lakers. Yeah, there weren't a lot of Lakers and Celtics. You didn't have, Sixers. You didn't have a lot of teams like that, right? Where you go 8, 9 deep and you can sit your starters for a few minutes. No, these motherfuckers were playing 44, 45 minutes, some of them. It's not a joke, right? That's the trade part of it. There's not a great trade landscape. Free agency didn't come into the NBA until I believe 1987. Now I'm doing this off the top of my head. I think it was 1987. A free agent, Tom Chambers, I believe. I think Tom Chambers was the first actual free agent. Literally, you can go where you want. When they first instituted free agency, the rules to free agency were you actually had to play out the entire length of your first contract. That was the first rule. The second rule was you had to at least have been in the league for 8 years. So basically, there was no free agency.
Nailed another one.
Free agent. There you go. So the people that want to play my league and like, oh, let's go back and play in the 80s. You better pick a good team, okay? You either better pick a good team or you better pick a team that you have no issue with if they don't get the lottery because if they don't get the first pick, because if you're not doing a custom class, it's pretty much Michael Jordan or bust. That's the first thing. Because I tried it and I actually used the Bulls and somehow got the first pick and picked Michael Jordan. Go figure. But yeah, there's not a landscape for trades where it's like you can improve your team right away. The NBA wasn't like that. You drafted well, and the trades were usually for pretty big time players that were just fucking disgruntled, right? But there was no free agency. That wasn't happening. So for the people that think it wasn't. So when you hear all these old niggas talking about, well, I would never go, motherfucker, you couldn't. You weren't allowed to. Stop talking. You weren't allowed to. There was a reason you didn't. Like, I wouldn't go and play with such and such. Well, you couldn't. So, who cares? But yeah, just a heads up to the people who haven't tried my eras. Maybe you're interested in it now that they put a quick play mode in. This is not free. It's hard to improve your team right away, right? If you're playing my league, like let's say I start a franchise with the Thunder and I wanted to trade a guy right away, like I wanted to trade Chet Holmgren, like I don't fuck with Chet Holmgren, get him out of here, right? Well, Chet Holmgren is a top 5 pick in the draft from the past year. I can trade him for like 2 or 3 good players. Then I can take somebody else. Not back then. You weren't getting players that were transcendent players. You had to pick a really good team. And I thought, my dumbass, I go and I pick the Knicks. I'm thinking, oh shit, I can just make one trade and we'll be fine. Nope. It don't work like that. You have to pick a team that you're pretty much okay with and just ride out with it. Because, the trade logic is really good. And back then, like I said, trades weren't really what you think them, what you view them as these days. It wasn't like that. It really wasn't. You better pick a really good team or be fine with rebuilding and plan on simming a couple seasons or whatever you got to do. But you're not going to go and improve your team like people are used to doing when they go in my league. Oh, yeah, I'm going to trade this guy. No, It's not gonna be that. I promise you, it's not gonna be that. That's not how the NBA was back then. It was not. You drafted well and you played with the players that were out there. So that's just a heads up since you were talking about since you were talking about my eras.
Mm-hmm.
Great mode though. Great mode. There are
Oh
some
yeah,
issues I have with it, but they can build on it.
yeah. Hopefully they do. I'm like, and just to add on to the free agency back in, it was like the summer of '88.
Mm-hmm.
It was two conditions that players had to meet. They had to have been in the league 7 years or more
There you go, 7 years.
and
Okay.
played through two contracts.
2 contracts. Not even one. 2 contracts. 2.
Mm-hmm.
This is back when they signed 7-year deals. Remember, they got rid of that. They got rid of that in the mid 2000s. I think they got rid of the 7-year deals. Now it's 5 is max.
Yeah,
So just imagine that.
Yeah, you signed those long deals and you had to still play by those conditions. Yeah, you'd be stuck for real.
So basically, in the 80s, the way you got traded, because there was no free agency, the way you got moved to a team you wanted to go to was either you were older and they felt like you had nothing left because you were phoning it in.
Mm-hmm.
That's how Bob McAdoo ended up on the Lakers, right? I mean, they just shipped his ass out of there. His MVP days were behind him as they viewed it, and he still went and contributed to the Lakers mightily. But most times you had to either become a distraction and start acting like an asshole, start fights in practice, whatever, right? And get moved, or you were stuck. That's pretty much it. There was no free agency. There was no, okay, you're done. You can, no. Like, they were very specific about, we don't want any turnover with our top teams in the league, and who you draft is who you keep, and we don't want the unbalanced playing field, and that's what they were about. And Tom Chambers changed that, and he happened to be a very prized possession when he became a free agent, because I believe he went from the Sonics to the Suns, I believe.
Let's see.
Or the Suns to the Suns, one or the other.
Okay, I think it was the Sonics to the Suns. That's what it's looking like on here.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Just reading through. They pulled off a draft day trade to bring up and coming forward Michael Cage to Seattle. They had drafted another long-limbed athletic forward, Derek McKee, the year before. So they were definitely pushing Chambers out the door at that point.
Yep.
Is because he assumed that he'd be retained and then traded when the right deal came along. So it was the Sonics to the Suns. Yeah, Suns general manager Jerry Colangelo looked over at Seattle owner Barry Ackerley. You're going to lose Chambers. That's what he said to him. So.
And that is just indicative of the mindset that they had back then about their league. If you drafted a player, they wanted that player to play the longevity of his career on that team, because once you have players start leaving and going elsewhere, it drops the value of that team. Now, let's look at the WNBA. What's happened with the WNBA right now? They have free agency, but they also have players that get disgruntled and want to get traded. Jonquel Jones was on the Sun, who are one of the top teams in the league. She gets traded to the Liberty, who are also becoming one of the top teams. Now you got Breonna Stewart in free agency. If she goes to the Liberty, now you have 3 of the top 15 players on the same team. This happens in the WNBA all the time. That's what happens when you have free agency versus when you don't have free agency. Some people think free agency is killing the game. Some people think it's not. I'd rather see a guy go somewhere in free agency than to force his way out via trade. That's something that happens way more in NFL. It started to happen in the NBA as of late, and it's like kind of weird. To see superstars just get traded back. I mean, come on, James Harden, this motherfucker got traded twice in 2 years. I mean, you don't see guys get traded like that. It just doesn't happen, but he did. I don't know. It's a very interesting situation, but it don't agree with, free agency as it is, and I don't really know why. I don't know what their issue is with it. I mean, players should be able to choose where they want to work and where they want to play. I don't think it should be like it was in the 80s. I think that was pretty fucking ridiculous. I don't think it's the player's responsibility to be the standard bearer for an entire fucking franchise, but that's just me. Okay, this is how these players got stuck there not winning who they got over, went to another team, and outplayed their effectiveness. They just, I don't know.
Mm. All right. Well, before we
That's just
cut out of here, all right. So before we cut out of here, I just wanted to, and definitely we're switching gears again. I don't know, Bills. Did you check out The Last of Us on HBO Max, or do you even have HBO Max?
I
Okay.
do, but I
I
didn't watch it.
Now, but you've played part two and part one by the chance. You know, I'm not worried
I
about if
played
you complete it or
some
not.
of
I'm not.
I played some of part two. I played some of part one.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm not gatekeeping out here like a lot of these people tend to do when it comes to gaming, and that would have
You
been
know, I didn't have
another.
PlayStations, so
That's
I kept
true.
getting rid of my shit. So I'm
And
honest
you
about
see
it. I'm
what's
not gonna
and
say.
you see what's happening at Microsoft. They're laying people off because they didn't make those games. They were more worried about acquiring those licenses and spending money there.
No.
That's what happens. But it's funny. It kind of almost happens every time a merger happens. People get laid off. This was just a delayed reaction to Microsoft buying those companies, those studios. You knew it was
Mm-hmm.
going to happen. I don't know why people thought for 1 second that those folks were going to be safe. In a merger, no one is safe. I don't know why
Mm-hmm.
everyone believes that. But when it comes to The Last of Us and HBO Max, and it's 9 episodes. It's weekly releases. So this past week was episode one, and I'm like, I spoke on the High Ground podcast with Dre Watson. You know, shout out to him. Um, I think we spoke. It was on Twitter Spaces on Monday, and
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was pretty good. Episode one, uh, and from what I'm seeing all around, overall, uh, what's it? Rotten Tomatoes 99 review score so far. It's probably dipped to like 95 or 97, whatever the case may be. It's still a high review score. Um, it's doing something that the video games, in which most video games now set it up to be successful on a different platform, and that is the fact that The Last of Us Part One and Two plays like an actual movie. So it wouldn't it would it shouldn't be hard to translate that to like a television series or a video or a movie. But in the past, we've had video game adaptations to movies that people want to go off on their own. Example, Halo, going in a completely different direction. And I think Halo's on Paramount Plus, going in a completely different direction than what the game set up. But even within that, the game actually went off kilter. And I think it was after Halo 4, they kind of just lost it. Really, technically, for me, it was Halo 3. Once they started going in this particular direction with Halo, and I think that's when it went from Bungie to 343 Industries, that's when they really lost it for me, story wise. So let me just put it up. But I definitely recommend folks, if you have HBO, if you that HBO Max is a part of your subscription. I had to get it through Hulu because apparently when I made this move, I lost HBO for part of my cable. So that was a nice surprise.
State of Franchise Gaming reminded me of WWE when he said mergers. As soon as I thought mergers, I thought WWE and that whole situation.
Yep.
Ugh.
See, and again, I'm like, and I'm gonna just put it back up here. Mergers always equal layoffs. I mean, I don't know why no one even. I'm sure some people may have brought that up when Microsoft was buying these studios, and I'm sure the same thing would happen if Sony were to buy these studios. There's people are gonna get laid off. It's just part of doing business. So people being, and it's not saying that I don't feel sorry for the people who getting laid off. I'm like, shoot, at one point my father was laid off back in the 90s. And it's never a good thing when people, hell, it happened to me before the pandemic. the company I
It
was
would have
with.
happened to me
So it's like,
if I kept working a Sprint. Yeah, it would
yeah,
have happened to me.
if you're a part of a merger, you are not safe. I'm like, and I was working temporary at that organization, so I knew I wasn't coming back.
Yeah, when I was working at
So
Sprint and T-Mobile bought Sprint, I would have been a part of that merger, and they basically kept the best salesmen, the best managers, and whoever Sprint had was pretty much a shit show. They would have got rid of them, and it sucks, but it's no different than a coach that comes in and brings his own coaching staff. It's no different than any other company. Like I said about WWE, if WWE sells their company, which they will sell their company to another bigger company, that bigger company will decide: do we want to keep do we want to keep Vince McMahon in place? Do we want to keep Triple H in place? We don't have to. We can get rid of them and put our own people in a position where they are now head of creative, whatever. And that's just what happens when you give all of the power to the company that you sold to. I mean, it's pretty simple. That's what happens with merger.
all right, because let's see. So Subliminary asked the question. It was before everyone else's. It was like, quick question: any game similar to No Man's Sky coming out soon? I don't know.
I answered his question kind of sort of.
Yeah, I don't particularly know. I haven't. It's funny because I haven't played No Man's Sky in a while. I'm like, I think I don't know. I think it's because I've been more focused on just my job and this move that I was recently in, and focus on a couple of games here and there, especially God of War. And God of War was the last game. Ragnarok was the last game I beat at the old place. So I guess I got to baptize this place with a game that I have to beat and call it the first game. It may be Dead Space. That's something that I had to challenge myself to do because I don't do scary games anymore. I used to do Resident Evil in those games back in the day. So it's going to depend. I definitely want to play Dead Space and see what the difference is between the older game versus the newer game as far as graphical updates, what they changed about certain layouts of. I think certain areas are more free now that you can traverse through versus the loading screen method with the doors. So we'll see how that goes.
Speaking
All
of
right, so
games, anybody that has a
mhm.
PC out here,
Oh, that's right.
please let me know what Undisputed is like because I don't know when I'm gonna get to play the motherfucker, and I'm mad about it. Even though I knew that was what was gonna happen. Hopefully, it's sometime near the summer or something. I'm not trying to wait till the end of the fucking year to play that game. So please let me know what it's like. Believe the early access comes out on the first this month.
Mm-hmm.
So let me know. I'm sure him is listening. He's a big boxing guy, so definitely let me know what it's like. And yeah, I'm excited for that game. Definitely.
All right, so let me go through the roll call as I usually do as we wrap up the show. And again, if you have any questions, you can pop them up as I go through the roll call, and I will try to answer your questions best as we can. And again, since wait a minute, see something popped up. Okay,
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
saying
that's
word because
just
he said he got me. So that's good.
gotcha. All right, so I'm gonna go backwards on here. So, state of the franchise gaming. Thank you for showing up. I wish there was some money a part of that, but it is what it is. Complementary sports. Thank you for coming by. We were playing Peacemaker, but not with that cash. And then we had Neff, who likes to use the N word, but not the N word. Money. I'm like,
Jeez.
I was
Way to
like,
get somebody. What a way to get somebody to donate. Guilt tripping.
it's like roll calls. No, it's called roast call. That's what it's really called. But I think we got everybody. I think there were more
Pretty
people
much.
that were. That was, I think, everyone that showed. There were a couple of people, few more people that popped up in here, but they were probably ghosting and they didn't bring money either. They didn't bring themselves in the chat.
I'm
But
about to say
anyway,
a couple other niggas didn't pull their wallet out. So
I gotta start screaming at the mic. It's like, what you screaming at the mic for?
send us Send a virtual collection plate around. You know, shit, we be preaching
Mhm.
on here. You know.
Oh man, I should make the background a collection plate. And then, if like nobody's donating, I'll just take both of us out of the studio. You just see the plate with their hands out.
Make me
It's like
start
we are.
preaching in here. We're gonna send some money around this motherfucker. Put a $1, $2, $3, $4, $5.
It'd be the power hour with the collection plate minute, because that's what we.
Good thing my shit's pre-recorded. I'd be roasting everybody coming that motherfucker.
But yeah, but definitely be on the lookout for Bill's Power Hour podcast. Again, like you just said, it'll be pre-recorded, but that is coming in hot. So just be on the lookout.
Soon.
Just be on the lookout. It's going to be very entertaining. It's got a good lineup. Not going to say who, what, but you'll know when and where when he puts it out. And then, and one more thing. I did write about The Last of Us episode 1. If you go to dj81.org, I did post an article, just a little bit summary over the last episode. I'm not writing per episode. I just wanted to give my thoughts. So if you want to go and check out my article there, it's dj81.org. And Bills, I know you're a good writer. I think you should get into that too.
I appreciate it. I probably will. I definitely probably will. It's something that's actually pretty therapeutic for me. So when I have some time, I definitely will. In the meantime, I'm probably gonna read this, which went up 2 minutes ago.
Oh boy, what happened there?
No, I'm saying
breaking.
No, I'm saying your article says 2 minutes ago.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, I appreciate it. That's a live read.
Maybe it's a 2-minute read.
Oh yeah, it's a quick read. It's not long. Okay. Yeah,
I thought 2 minutes was never mind.
Yeah, it's not I don't do like the long article. I think the longest article I did on there was back in 2019 where I was roasting Washington back then. Yeah. First and going nowhere is the name of the article.
I remember I was talking to my boy. I'm like, you know what I'll never do? I'll never do an audio book. You feel like motherfucker sitting there reading to you like you can't read. I ain't Floyd Mayweather, motherfucker. You don't have to read to me. You be sitting there. Chapter 5. Where do I go from here?
God, the last person you called Floyd Mayweather, or kind of was like, we know you can read. You ain't Floyd Mayweather. It's VF.
And you, of course, always made it clear that he couldn't read. So,
well, I say that to him, and if I ever had a face or at least an interaction with BG, that's where it originally started from. Because BG acted like he couldn't read. He'd be reading articles,
broken games or broken grammar,
broken literature. That's so watching him struggle with reading. It was just like. And how is this going to work? You run a podcast, you can't even read the articles that you're trying to talk about. Okay, I know I stutter, but I do this freestyle.
It's funny. It's like I tried an audiobook once. It's so weird. It's like you're just driving down the street, somebody's fucking reading to you. Imagine if it was fucking Macho Man. Chapter number 5. Me and Miss Elizabeth. It's like you can hear it in their voice. Is like, what the fuck? You're literally get like, give me a default narrator. I can't take your voice serious.
Shoot, even that, and even if they're like stuttering over something, you would think something's wrong with the audio piece. If you're driving, that's definitely problematic. Because you're like, oh, what the fuck is it? Oh shit!
But how long does it take for them to record that shit? They gotta literally read word for word what they wrote. That has to be a long ass process to do the audiobook version. It has to be. I mean, some of these motherfuckers' books, 500, 600 pages.
Mm-hmm. I'm talking about possibly a 6-hour read right there.
Think about that. Recite 500 pages of shit. Hell no.
Shoot, probably more than that. Probably like 10 hours. I know some of the audio books that I've got on Audible run in like 10, 15 hours on like damn near part-time job reading, listening, and not reading, listening. So
Morgan Freeman put your ass to sleep. Chapter number 1.
that is exactly correct. It sounds like your Bluetooth is fucked up. It sounds like our podcast when it starts chopping up. That's what it sounds like.
Oh yeah, it got better towards the end. Thank God, it took long enough.
I know, it's almost like it has to get warmed up.
That's how complimentary. You know, that's how it. You have been listening to. What the fuck just happened? DJ 81 and Free Roll.
That was actually pretty good. You know what? If you can record that, and I could play the audio clip every time we get towards the end. It's like, you've been watching. And then I can just play that clip at the end, so I don't have to do this wrap up. I don't have to roast anybody, and just have Morgan Freeman come in, like guest appearance by Morgan Freeman at the end of the show. I'm sure that'd be clickbait. They really think it was.
I'd be clickbaity as hell.
Like, guess who I got to narrate the right. But anyway, I thank everybody for showing up. I thank everybody for being here, being in the chat, lurking, not donating, even though you guys really aren't donating. And hopefully your new year has again started off just fine. Hopefully you guys are in the middle of your workout programs. I know most of you probably are not on your workout program, because I'm not on my workout program. I need to get on one. Yes, I am the trainer, but I'm also the patient as well. And I understand that. So you can find Bills on Twitter with the weirdest username ever.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to my NBA 2K18 my player.
What is it? Actually, no. I have
Man Skip.
There it is. Just in time. And then you can find me at DJ 81. I keep it simple. This man over here named his after a white man.
Skip Wankman. Yeah. Sound like a fucking meteorologist. Skip Wankman here.
It's like there'll be more clouds in the forecast. I don't know what degrees it's going to be, because it could range from 35 to 65. We're in Maryland. I don't want to tell you exactly what degrees it's going to be, because in the morning it's going to be 35. By the afternoon, it'll be 65. Anyway. All right, so that is episode 49. If we missed anything, come on, Preliminary. We can't do a show without roasting.
You know us by now. You
know them's the rules. You show up.
We have a segment for it.
Right. Like, shoot, I could probably roast Bills if I need to. He's probably gotten me a couple of times already.
Wouldn't be NWO if we didn't roast people.
Exactly.
Sorry. There's nobody to roast in the community, so we're just,
What community?
Find other people.
I haven't even. I don't even know who's left. To be honest, I'm like,
well, Brett is still out there posting his videos and any.
Yeah, I kind of knew that was gonna get. He was gonna just blow over that, but that whole thing was crazy when it happened.
Some behind the scenes, right? Y'all getting a clue in on the behind the scenes before we get off. This is what we talk about. So I was telling BB, right? about that. He couldn't fucking believe it. So I sent him the video, and I'm like, yo, just watch it. He's sitting there watching. I'm on the phone with him. And he's like, there's no fucking way. I was like, bro, it's real. And he's like, that's his voice. I'm like, yes, that's him. And he couldn't believe it, because BB doesn't pay attention to the community anymore. But I sent him the video, and he couldn't fucking believe it. I'm like, yep. Motherfucker got exposed. Deleted his Twitter. It still ain't up. Shit's gone.
Yeah, that was.
And if you don't know what I'm talking about,
go ahead.
We'll be back in the next 2 weeks. We'll be back in the next 2 weeks with more content.
That's right. You just reminded me. You need to be brought up on charges, sir, for your rendition for your podcast. It'd be like, I'd be back at a later time with more content. I was like, this nigga did not just say what we've been roasting another person about. Flag on the play. Flag on the play.
I put an inside joke in a video that wasn't even catered to the community. There's a bunch of other motherfuckers just like, oh, that was a pretty good sign off. Whole time I'm sitting there dying, and DJ comes in the comment section and blows up the spot. Oh my god.
I was like, it was funny because I was just cruising through it, and then all of a sudden he said that. I was like, what? No, this nigga did not just say that. So yeah, it definitely was noticeable. Trust me, I'm known as the one who can catch a lot of stuff quickly, like the pause moments. My mind is that twisted.
Oh my god.
Yeah, this podcast is not for the lighthearted at all. So anyhow, we are over the 2-hour mark, and you guys haven't paid us enough to stay on for a little longer. Oh, red card on Bills.
What? Damn, ejection? I can't get a yellow card first? It wasn't that dangerous of a tackle. Jesus. Not like Brady did to homeboy when he picked the ball off. He went and tripped him.
You know what's funny? I actually seen an old game between Washington and Detroit where Brad Johnson got into a fight with what was it, Robert Porsche or whatever his name was. Oh. And that's the one where Trey Johnson hit the ref and was possibly going to be ejected for the playoff game.
He said $500. $500 what? Fine?
No, he's just he's trolling because
man,
I'll put you on a payment plan, and then me and Bills can split that. How about that?
Yeah, man. You know, put it on layaway. Put your donation on layaway.
Right. You know, it's $250 each way. So, all right. But like I said, y'all ain't paying us enough to do overtime. So, paying us at all to do anytime.
They already got 10 minutes of fucking overtime.
Oh, kid. Payment. Well, we ain't stayed our franchise game. We're not no escorts.
You see how we circle back? That's called a callback, ladies and gentlemen. That's called a callback. You know, to the beginning of the show. You know, if you weren't here, I'm sorry.
Anyway, again, thank you guys for coming in. God bless, and
yes, sir.
Good night.
Oh man.